Everyone, welcome back to the workshop, and today doing a quick little test, possibly an inspiration project. I was out shopping at a local craft store and came across these little metal and glass lanterns and thought, hey, you know what, that'd be an interesting thing to try to customize. We're going to try to pop these panels out. We're going to try to engrave them with glass. We're going to be using the xTool S140 watt. So if nothing else, we're going to show you how that diode machine can engrave glass, but also hopefully inspire you to keep an eye out for things like this that might make something that you can customize rather than having to build the whole thing yourself, and create gifts, create home decor, maybe a product that you can offer. So if that's something you're interested in, want to find more about it, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. As I mentioned, the primary idea behind this is to etch the glass, and so I saw these at the store and I took a look at them. It does have this little side door that opens, and all the panels are kind of held in by these little tabs here. Now it does look like they have a little bit of an adhesive just to keep them from rattling around, so I'm hoping those will pop off as well. But the idea is we're going to pull these panels out and then we're going to engrave them with some designs. Now a diode laser is not going to affect the glass without adding some sort of binder to it, and so the kind of popular choices and the two that I was testing beforehand, you can use laser marking spray. xTool has their own kind. It's very similar to the others out there, Brilliance marking spray, Surmark, other brands have them, but went ahead and tried this out, and this is often used on stainless steel and a few other metals to fuse a black layer onto the metal when the laser hits it. So similar to like toner in a laser printer where it marks where that laser is hit. So that's what this is used for a lot, but if you dial the setting the power back a little bit, increase the speed, it acts as a binder to where it's going to frost the glass but not necessarily fuse the material in its black form. Now, I know a few people have tried that with these marking sprays and had mixed results, getting kind of a darker color on it. That's not what I'm going for today. That might be something we test in the future. But so we did test that out. My other method is just straight up acrylic paint. This is tempera paint. It's water soluble, so you spray it on and it washes right off with water. That also washes off with water. Other people like using a black spray paint. I don't, because you have to use chemicals like acetone to remove it. I prefer it to be just a water cleanup. So those are the two that I felt I would give it a shot. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole part of this. I have a material test video out there for xTool, so I'll have that link down below if you want to check it out. But I ran a material test on each of these using some glass panels that I had salvaged out of some old frames. And so I'll start out with this one. This one is the xTool material, so I had marked on there, although I've got the black backer so you can see it here. This is the xTool spray, and so we sprayed it on, ran a couple of tests here, and the first one was at 100 lines per centimeter. The other one, the second one, was at 120, just to see if that improved it, and minimal gains there. And this was 70 to 100% power and 75 to 150, and then 75 to 175. Getting similar output on both those, and it is okay. It would work, but wanted to compare it to the tempera paint, and that's this one here. And so the first test, the glass actually moved around a little bit, so I taped the whole thing down so it'd hold steady there. And you see that worked out very well. I actually defocused this one a little bit as well, just to give it a little more of a frosted look. On that one, I could kind of see the focus lines, so to do that, I just set like a 3mm piece of material on top of the glass, had the autofocus probe it for that, and then the focus is a little high. It just spreads out that beam and gives it a little more frosted look. So here I'm going to try to show them top and bottom. So the top is the xTool marking spray, the bottom is the tempera paint, and hopefully it's coming through that the tempera paint is a little more white, whereas the xTool marking spray just has a slight grayish tinge to it. So I think both would be fine, and if you didn't see them next to each other, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. But just to have the most contrast in this application, I'm going to go ahead and work with the tempera paint. All right, so let's go in, let's take a look at these panels and see if we can pop them out of the lamp. This little latch is very simple. It's nice that they open this up, and that gives you access to put in a candle or an LED light. I don't know that I'm going to do anything with this back one. This is going to be kind of the back, so we're probably going to leave this one here. I'm going to focus on these others. And at the top, much like this one, they have these little tabs in here, so I should be able to bend those up. And then we'll have to see about the, well, gotta take it easy. I overbent that one, but that's okay. There's two of them, so take it easy bending those up, and you don't want to bend and rebend these too many times. So, all right, it looks like that adhesive it's just a little sticky, so it looks like they will pop out. Okay. So yeah, there's just this kind of rubbery, slightly sticky adhesive. So I'm going to leave that on there. This is technically the outside of the glass. We're going to be engraving the inside. So anything we do, we're going to need to reverse in our software. But let's see if we can get these other panels out. We got the glass out. Like I said, I'm going to leave the back one in. So now we need to prep these for the paint binder. The other idea that I'm looking at these are roughly 3 mil or an 1/8 inch thick. If we wanted to, we can actually take the glass panels out and maybe replace them with plywood, painted plywood or something. But let's play with the glass for now. So I'm going to be engraving on, let's see, these are the, yeah, we're going to be engraving on the inside. These are the clean side. So I need to clean these first. So we'll get these all kind of laid out here. All right, to clean these, we got both alcohol as well as some Windex. This is ammonia-free Windex. It tends to not leave any residue, so that generally works. Alcohol is really good because it generally will clean and leave nothing behind. I just want to make sure there's no oil, no residue or anything on there. So get yourself a paper towel and spray these down. Might even be worth wearing some, if you've got some gloves, some nitrile gloves or something, just so you don't leave any fingerprints on here, but we'll try to be careful about that. Like I say, just trying to get anything off of them. Once you feel that it's lint and spot free, we can move on to painting. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be using the tempera paint. It's water wash up and fairly easy to work with. Now you can just brush this on. You can use a foam brush, but you want to be careful that you get it on very even. You don't want streaks, and that is a little bit difficult to do. It helps to water it down just a little bit, but it's finding a balance of the thickness of the paint going on nice and even, but creating a nice solid binder. You don't want it to be too translucent, but you also don't want it too thick. What is a little bit easier in this case is to use an airbrush. This is an airbrush I've had for many years. It's just a single action airbrush. You can pick them up at most hobby stores. Harbor Freight sells them and such. So I'll show you applying this with the airbrush. I'm going to be applying the paint. I'm going to be using the heat gun to kind of quick flash dry it until we get the kind of the solid coats. Then we'll jump into xTool Creative Space and figure out how we're going to do some designs on here. So I'll try to explain this really quick. I'm going to be making some light passes. You don't want to get it to where it's going to pool or run. So you want to kind of get it coated. And then I have a heat gun that I can use to kind of flash dry those paints. You don't always want to get it too hot. So I might even, this has two settings where it's just air and then it's air and heat. We'll play around with that. But we'll get 2 or 3 coats on there until it looks nice and even and well coated, let it dry. And then, like I say, we'll jump into the software. Got some paint loaded up in the cup, and we'll just try to get a test spot here. We want to adjust it to where it's a fine mist, not spraying any big globs, and then just kind of as you would spray paint, start adding layers. It helps to go in alternating directions as well. You can see we're not getting too thick at a time. So I want these to be really nice and even. And the thinner coats will dry faster, so And we're going to take this heat gun. And we'll just rinse and repeat until I feel we have a good coating on here. I don't know if you can kind of see that it's still a little translucent, so I am going to probably a third coat, get that on there pretty well, and hopefully that'll be good. And that's looking really good. I'm not seeing really anything through it. So these should be nice and even. You can kind of see that's a very smooth coating that should work really well for our engraving. So let's hop over into xTool Creative Space. I am going to need to get the size of these quick, so go ahead and use my workbench measuring here. So we are just over 4 inches by just over 3 inches. So we're going to want to keep our design within that limit, so I'm probably going to use maybe 2/3 of that, and let's see what we can come up with. All right, so I've jumped over to the office, make it a little bit easier to do some designing and show you what I'm working on. We're going to be working in xTool Creative Space for this with the xTool S1 and playing around with some of the features in there. So one of the problems a lot of people run into, including myself at times, is kind of creative block, and you need a little bit of inspiration. Well, they do kind of show you some examples of other things that whether people have shared them straight out or they have part of their prime projects where you can pay for them. This is a good way to get some inspiration or maybe even just use a design. And so if we actually click into Design Find, we can use that to do a little bit of searching. So like I mentioned, there are some things in here that are going to be community created assets that are free to use. And then there are going to be some premium assets where you'll see it's going to cost you a couple dollars. And depending on the design, that can definitely be worth it. There are also other sites that you can find these on. I offer designs on Etsy, as well as have used Creative Fabrica and Canva and other things. So use some of the third-party tools, but if you're using xTool Creative Space, they've got a lot of it built in right here. So one of the nice things we can do is we can come in here and we can do a bit of filtering. So we can jump into designs, and actually up here they have them separated by theme. So we can jump all the way over to Christmas. Now, of course, you can put some filters on here. You can say premium assets or just community created assets. So let's just go ahead and look at the free ones for right now. And let's actually see what they have listed as far as glass. And that didn't seem to filter it too much, but we can start scrolling through here and see if there's something that we want to play with. Definitely jumping through all these. Some of them are going to be more cutouts, but as long as it's a graphic, it's something we can definitely throw on there. So this is kind of an interesting one. We got a snowman, a Christmas tree, Santa, and such. We have just the straight up trees. We could do just a snowman on such. So in here, you can click into each one. It'll give you a little more details about it. There might be comments about it, a little information about it. So this is basically just a SVG file. So that's what I might work out. Let's go ahead and download that. I'm going to put it into my downloads folder, but I'm going to rename it Snowman. And let's find a couple others. We'll jump back out there. You know what? While I'm at it, I think I'm going to go ahead and download this one as well. And or we can actually open it right in XCS, but I'm going to go ahead and download this into downloads. Oh, this is actually just a project. So we'll have to import that. I say this is one of the things that depends on how people export them. And we got a third side, so let's see what else might be out there. You know, the Holly and Marys might be a nice thing. So we'll go ahead and download that. Just renaming it. Okay. So we've got a few options there that we can play with. There is another tool that we can use. So let's go ahead and open a new project. And we can come down to the AI tool, which is Artimind or AI Make. And in here, we can play around with giving it some prompts of some things to make. So one of the things we might want to do is there's text and graphics for designing. There's just straight up graphics. If you're doing other things such as engravings on slate or wood, you can get more of a 3D effect. So something fun to play around with here. We're going to come to the text and graphics designing. So let's jump into that. And you see earlier in one of my videos, I did use this. We created that A Merry Minnesota Christmas for our F1 Ultra Ornaments video. But what we're going to do here is we can create an image description. So this is where you're going to need to give it some prompts. And so let's say a snowy Christmas scene with a cabin and a snowman, and a sleigh. I don't know. Let's start with that. And text to display, let's say, Merry Christmas from up. From Merry Christmas from the wilderness. I don't know. We'll try that. So this does take credits. You can get credits in a variety of different ways, from buying them to sharing content to entering some of their contests, various different things. So this will take 12 credits based on the information because we're asking it to return 2. Now, if I want to have 4, it's going to double that. So let's go ahead and we'll see what it comes up with for. Click on generate, and it's going to take a little while to think on this one. All right, so we've got a few options here, and we can take a look at each of them. So they say Merry Christmas from the wilderness. Definitely have all the aspects in it. This one's kind of cool in the sense that the sleigh is up and kind of flying, but I'm not sure I like the cabin on that one. I don't know what's going on here. Sometimes with AI, you get some interesting things, so be sure to play around with it. The snowman and the sleigh up front. This one's kind of interesting. So if you like it, you can definitely go ahead and download them. You can import them into XCS, and then these will stay in your account. So once you've created them, you've kind of paid them with your credits. You get to keep them. So, but you can download it. It should download as a PNG. Otherwise, we can export it right into XCS. So, we're going to go ahead and scale it to the canvas, and there we have the one. So we'll take a look at that, and then we can also come over here to our image icon, and we can import the holly and berries. That one was very small, but let's scale that back up. We can also import just the straight up snowman one. Here we go. Otherwise, the other one we would need to open project. And this was the other one that we grabbed. Here we go. So I'm going to change this to an engrave to see it better. Kind of fancy. Don't know that I need the text like that, but we'll just kind of remove that. But nice thing here is we can just select it all. I'm going to the outer group, so we're going to Control-C to copy. We'll jump over to our other one, and we will paste that in as well. So here are our options. We have currently 3 slides we can play with to see which one we want. I'm kind of thinking to go with one of the others. I want these more solid ones for some testing, and then kind of more intricate ones. So yeah, for now we'll work with these others. I got a couple of lanterns if I want to mess around later. So if we're happy with these, now what we need to do is get them scaled right. So as I mentioned, they're about 3x4, so I'm going to go with a 2x3. So this would need to be 3 tall. We want to make sure this is locked, and so we're going to adjust the height to 3. That should automatically adjust our other width to 2.1, so that's good. This one, again, we're going to go with
The width, we're going to scale that down to 2. We may find ourselves wanting to scale that up just a little bit. And then this one, of course, also we want no wider than 2. So there we have our 3 panels. And, you know, this one we can probably crop in just a little bit and enlarge the overall graphic, because it's got some dead white space we don't need to be worrying about there. So I'm just going to crop these in. There. Save that, and now we're going to readjust this to a width of 2. There we go. Make it a little bit easier to see in that frame. And now I'm kind of stuck with the problem that this one is really big. These are quite small. So if we maybe want to just scale this one down a little bit more, so it's a little more similar to the others. So we want to take the power and speed settings we had from our panel, and the speed was about 100 millimeters a minute and about 85% power. Seemed to be pretty decent. So, and then of course I did bump this up to 120 lines per centimeter bidirectional engrave. So we're gonna do that on all these. We'll get them sent over the laser, and we'll see how they come out. All right, so we're over at the xTool S1, and just gonna explain a couple things I'm gonna do here. I do have the honeycomb panel in here, but I don't want the glass to sit right on top of that. So I do have some of these small craft sticks that are maybe 2 millimeter thick, and I'm gonna set them down in here, and then I will set our glass panel on top of that. But then I am also going to tape this in place. We don't want it to move around, and as this thing does get moving, there could be some vibrations and such, so we want it to be kind of secure in place. So I'll probably tape the top and bottom or sides or whatnot, but I'll show you that. And then again, I'm going to focus it with having it just slightly defocused above it. So I'll set like an 1/8 inch material piece of scrap plywood on there, have the probe focus on that, and then we'll set up our engraving area and send it off. But one thing I forgot to do in the software while we were doing that is we do need to reverse the image, because we are going to be engraving on the back side. So when we put the panels in, we want any text, especially on the one frame that says Merry Christmas, we want that to come out okay. So let me zoom you in here, we'll get that all set up, and then we'll start the machine and see how it comes out. All right, so that one finished. That took just under 4 minutes to do that panel. So let's pull this out. I want to get it cleaned up. We'll take a look at it before we go and jump to the other two. So this is looking pretty good. You can kind of see it's frosted. You can kind of still see through it a little bit. And this is what it's going to look like on that side. But we're going to rinse this off with some water, wipe it down. We'll take a look at it. A little bucket of water. You could do this in the sink, but I thought I'd show you how easy this is. And we've got our panel that is stuck down. That adhesive layer is something else, but real simple. I mean, we can kind of dunk this in a little bit, just get it wet. Get our paper towel here ready, but if you dunk it in there, you basically just kind of reconstitutes the paint into a liquid. And if you're running this in the sink, you just kind of run the water over it, rinsing it off. It works real slick. Use a microfiber cloth to really dry it off. And so here we have the finished engraving. If I can get it to not focus on me. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use this paper. So there you go. You see it. It came out pretty well. If I can get that to show up without too much reflection. Real nice and frosted.
should show up really well. The question is, how's it going to look when it's maybe lit up by a candle behind it? But let's get the other panels done, and then we can get this reassembled and see what the finished project looks like. So let's see if we can get this reassembled into the lantern. That should be fairly simple, and we'll see how it looks like with a candle behind it. Now, the shop lighting is probably the worst way to try to demonstrate this, but it does actually work pretty well. I have a couple shots of it sitting on some shelves in our house, and I think in the right normal house lighting, it'll have just enough glow that you can play around with it. Now, the nice thing about this lantern, it is all metal and glass. If I wanted to, I could even pop in a real tea light candle. I think a little more of a yellowish glow on this one might be nice. And they do have the little LED lights that work that way. You could even fit more of a votive style in here. I'm not sure if that might detract from the engravings, but really just a trial of picking up something at the craft store or the thrift store or whatnot, and doing a little bit of a modification to it, adding the engravings. If nothing else, hopefully you got some good tips on engraving with glass with a diode laser, specifically the xTool S1. And how to maybe take a look at other things that are around you and see how you can modify them. It's not always about creating the entire project, but taking something and putting your own touch on it. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it showed you some ways to be creative, to get some inspiration from just wandering your nearest craft store, and also maybe something you can do with your laser. Diode lasers can engrave glass and even clear acrylic as long as you put that coating on there. So the tempera paint, even the xTool marking spray, things like that work as a great binder for that. So don't be afraid to play around with that and have some fun. Just do your material tests and make sure you do it safely. I'll have links down below to a lot of the things I used in this video. If you're watching this video right as it came out, xTool is currently running some Black Friday sales. These are some of the biggest sales they have all year, sometimes cases up to 60% off machines. So if you've been in the market, you've been looking at one, and maybe you want to check out the S1, I appreciate you using my link down below. It does tell xTool that you saw my information and thought it was useful, and it does give a small kickback to me, which does help me go out and randomly shop at craft stores and find things to share projects with you and hopefully inspire you as well. So as always, appreciate you using those links, but no pressure, just happy to pass along good information to you. If you have any questions or comments about this project, go ahead and leave them down below. Tell me what you think of it. Tell me how maybe you've done some glass engravings on your own, or any additional questions you have. If you're new here, hey, consider hitting that subscribe button. I do a lot of project videos. I do some product reviews, and on Sunday evenings, I go live with the Clack Shack at 7 p.m. Central. We talk for a couple hours. We answer a lot of questions. A lot of the content is driven by viewers, and we just have some fun. So I hope I see you around in future videos or stop in on those live streams. So once again, I want to thank you for watching this video. I had a lot of fun playing around with this, and hopefully it inspired you to do something as well. I hope to see you here again soon. I'll be doing more projects. Christmas season's coming up. There's a lot of custom gifts and things that I hope to share with you, but I hope you can also get out in your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.